Hello, Lions fans, and welcome to another Alumni Spotlight. Adam Williams here, joining me today, our third softball alumna, Shaundee Woosley. Shaundee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, glad to have you. We start off every interview like this, and I feel like we're going to continue as long as it's around. How has the pandemic affected you? We talked briefly before we came on air. You're a teacher at North Davidson High School. Let's talk about the adjustments that the school and yourself have had to make throughout this time.
Yeah, at North Davidson, we are on A-Day, B-Day schedule with Wednesdays all remote for the kids. It's definitely been a challenge for students learning at home and for the teachers. We feel like we have to, teach kids at home and teach the kids that are in person all at the same time. So it can be a bit stressful. It affected me a lot with softball. It ended our softball season early last spring. March 13th was that last day, and we didn't ever know when we were going to get to play again. So that was a lot. It's hard for our seniors. I hated that for them. And this year we've been pushed back to March 1st as our first date in North Carolina that we're allowed to have practice. So we're hoping to start some workouts here soon and get rolling.
You talk about being head coach at North Davidson High School, a pretty storied program. We've had numerous players come through Mars Hill from that program. Talk about what it's like to be at the helm there and what it means to you.
Yeah, it's really awesome, actually. I get a lot of people. I used to work with Robin Stanek at North Davidson, and so we went to high school together, went to college together, and then we worked together. But I first found out really about Mars Hill from Ashley Angel when she went to Mars Hill and played softball there. But yeah, it's kind of like it comes full circle. So it's pretty amazing to have these memories in high school, go to college, go to Mars Hill with people that actually went to my high school, and then turn back around and be the head coach. It comes full circle. So it's pretty awesome.
We talk about full circle. Let's go back to the beginning of that circle. Let's talk about those high school days. You're looking ahead. Where do you want to go to school? For what do you want to do it? I knew you want to continue your softball career. You mentioned briefly about how you heard about Mars Hill, but what was it that made that the cementing factor, the defining factor? Like, this is where I'm going.
I really loved Coach David Williams. I love everything he brought to the table, and he was the one that actually recruited me. Then I played a couple years under Monica Gordy, of course. It was awesome. I love the atmosphere. Of course, I love the people. I love the small class size. I just loved everything about it. How you just weren't thrown into a big school, big campus. Everything was right there, and I really enjoyed my time at Mars Hill as a student and as an athlete.
Let's talk about how it is to adjust to different coaches. You said you played a couple seasons under Coach Williams, then Coach Gordy. Talk about what that's like as a student athlete, and especially, I believe, 2 years in, somewhere around there?
Yeah. Yeah, after my freshman year, Coach Williams had left, and we kind of didn't know what was going on at that time. We were kind of in the middle between coaches, and I think that whole first semester we were just kind of like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What are we doing? We were all stressed out. We kept hitting and going on the field as much as we could, or when we were allowed to. So it was a huge transition. It was tough. But that's life. Coaches come and they go, and so it was tough. I think it kind of made us come together, that group that had stayed, and we got 9 new girls, and we had 9 returners and 9 new girls. So we had it was very interesting there because that's 2 different teams almost. It felt like, but we really learned how to bond, and we about a couple years in, by my senior year, I feel like we had really meshed well and did well to end the season.
So let's talk about that 2014 season. We'll get there in just a little bit, but before we came on air, you were saying you're an inclusion teacher, but you came to Mars Hill for a psychology degree. Let's talk about kind of how those all tie in.
Yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I loved Mars Hill. I loved softball. I had my opportunity, and I just jumped at it. But I kind of had no idea what I wanted to do, and I took a couple psych classes. I loved them, absolutely loved them. Had to take more of them, but I just didn't know really what I wanted to do when I graduated. I did some CNA stuff. I worked at the hospital. I thought I was going to kind of go into healthcare, but I always did coaching on the side. I coached a travel ball team, and I was like, softball's, it's been my life. It's been my passion for so long, and I kind of got to see that new side of coaching. Got my start in travel ball, and I was helping out with my high school And finally, I was like, this is where I need to be. You know, I love my community. I love North Davidson. I had to be a part of it. Of course, with Coach Lambros and stuff like that, he mentored me through, and you know, he got sick and ended up having cancer and passed away. But it was awesome, like I said, for it to be a head coach of. I never thought I was going to be head coach there. I always liked teaching and to coach, but to be a head coach, especially at North Davidson, I had never expected it. So
it's just that extra cherry on top, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Let's jump back to the Diamond here. I have a little note card here with some stats, so we're just going to reel off a couple, if you don't mind. In your career, you ranked top 10 amongst games played with 177, runs scored with 105, 28 doubles, and 520 at bats. Ranked 7th all time with 54 walks and 4th all time with 285 assists. And you still currently hold the school record for most walks drawn in a single game against Lees McRae with 4. So let's talk about kind of your approach to the game, and especially at the plate, because it takes a lot of discipline to draw some walks.
Absolutely. I was the weird kid growing up because I loved practice. I always have. I always made everything a competition. You know, when I'm playing defense, like, you can't hit this ball by me, right? And, you know, challenge myself. You know, I wanted to be the best defender out there. I love the glove. So it's actually funny that one of my top stats is hitting. But yeah, I always just had the mentality of if they throw it in my zone, I'm going to crush it. So I tried to really, you know, zone in and see it small and see a small area, and that's what I was swinging for. But yeah, I did not know that I was most walks, you know, in a game or whatever. I was always pumped because I knew that I had more doubles my senior year than Robin, and I used to rub it in her face. So that's what we always competed for, hitting doubles. You know, Nat, I watched you guys' spotlight on Nat. She was hitting all these home runs. It just wasn't me. It wasn't my style. I was just trying to get on base, do what I can for my team.
So I think with all of our softball spotlights that we've done, it's very unique to see who had an expertise in what. We actually have one with Rebecca Huff. We recorded a couple weeks ago that's coming out, and her expertise from just number-wise was stolen bases. So when she was on base, she was deadly. And then you kind of talked about more of your overall game. So I always think that's unique. We asked her the same question that I'm going to ask you now. When it comes to your coaching style, do you emphasize one aspect more over the other, or is it more individualized?
I try to preach it's a team sport. You know, one person's job is to get on base. The next person's job is to move them. The next person's job is to score them. I think we live in a world today where people preach home runs, and it can be selfish at times. You know, when it's one person up to bat versus 9, the odds aren't in your favor. But it's to have the little successes that sometimes don't get praised. So that's what I strive to be in a selfish game. Try to not individualize it, but make it more of a team thing.
Let's talk about some of your favorite moments at Mars Hill, be it on the diamond, on campus. Let's just kind of go down memory lane. Why not? It's Friday afternoon. Let's reminisce a little bit.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many when I think about it. We spent many nights in the library. We tried not to, but you had to. Spent many nights in the library. Met a lot of new people. You know, different sports, different athletes. Oh gosh. I remember when my friend Megan got thrown out of a game. I thought it was hilarious. She was so mad. We hit a walk-off one time against Tusculum. It was so great. You know, we ran on the field. One of my favorite memories, I think it was my senior year, we swept Lenore Ryan. And I actually have a friend now who had played for Lenore Ryan. She was like, yeah, our coach didn't let us go home for Easter that year because you guys beat us. And I was like, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many.
No, and you mentioned, you know, meeting a ton of different people, and in a lot of these final questions. So as we do wrap up here, I always ask the best bit of advice. And I think one constant thread is to always get out there and to introduce yourself amongst as many people as you can while on campus. Would you advocate for that? And also, what other advice would you have for current and prospective students looking at Mars Hill?
Yeah, I would say jump in, do everything, go to everything you can, meet new people. Campus, they typically have tons of things that you can do. You can meet on the quad, you eat dinner, you do things with your peers, and it is awesome because, like I said, I did play with people from North Davidson that went to Marseille, but there was so many people that I met outside, lacrosse players not from here, soccer players from all over, track. I met so many friends from the track team and cross country. It was insane the amount of diverse population that Marseille has to offer, and so to be a part of it is just a great thing. But yeah, I would say is just be committed. Go out there, give 100%, especially if you're playing a sport. This is the best time of your life, and it's going to be the only time that you get to live this way. Living with all your friends, playing the sport you love. Yeah, you got to do the school stuff too, but that pays off in the end. So.
That little bit, the degree and the education, kind of takes away from the fun on the field, but it is definitely just as important, if not more so. But
absolutely,
Shaundee, I want to say thank you again for taking the time and doing this on a Friday afternoon. It was nice meeting you and nice catching up with you, and hopefully once everything clears up, we'll actually be able to meet up and you can come see some Marseille softball again.
I would love to. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.